Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on meditationpodcast.org. You find everything about me. Scan the QR code, go to roycollin.com. Find everything about my 6 podcasts, my podcast coaching, 2 school groups, 1 on podcasting, 1 on brain fitness. And yeah, you'll see everything at braingym.fitness as well. Now, I'm looking forward to this because I know this lady through a business group that we're connected with. She's a master mindset and life skills coach who helps people rebuild their lives from the inside out through the power of self-care, emotional awareness, intentional living, and personal responsibility. After overcoming early trauma and a long journey of healing from emotional abuse, she learned how to nurture her life the same way she once nurtured children as a Montessori educator. Her 20 years of Montessori experience gave her a deep understanding that the environment we create shapes the way we think, feel, and grow. Now she uses that same philosophy with adults, guiding them back to clarity, compassion, confidence, and a steady sense of self. She's also a podcaster and an author as well. So please welcome Bethany Stone.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So I seen a picture, because people send me pictures and I say, something that grabs people's attention always helps. And there's one of you skydiving, and I've done a skydive. And so you might tell us about the experience, why you decided to do it and how it felt.
Well, I had a friend a couple of years ago that was like, you know what? I'm turning 40 and I want to go skydiving, and we have a group of about 14 of us women, and she sends out this message, and everyone's like, no. Heck no, I'm not going to do that. No. I'm like, I will do this with you. And then we got one other woman to do this with us. And I've always wanted to do that because, I go cliff jumping, and I like these types of things. I like cliff jumping, and I like, dirt biking and mountain biking, and I like all that stuff. So I'm like, skydiving, okay, let's do it. And it was so cool. They were pretty nervous, but I don't get as nervous because I just realized a long time ago that, your emotions are just a tiny feeling. And within 10 seconds, you can change whatever emotion you want, And so I had the fear and the anticipation. And when we went up there, this is the coolest part about skydiving. And I think that since you've gone skydiving, maybe you experienced this too. But right before you jump out of that plane, it just seems so surreal. Just doesn't even seem like this is a real thing. And you look out there and you're like feeling the butterflies, you're feeling just all the feels, and you look outside, and literally the thought I had in my mind is, I'm Mary Poppins. I'm going to be jumping into a chalk picture because that's what it looked like. It doesn't even look real because you're so high up. And I just was like, let's go. And the whole time I'm like, I just was like, this is what Mary Poppins felt like jumping into a chalk picture, and it was beautiful and wonderful. And it just felt exhilarating. So, and when you landed, you just felt like you could do anything. You're like, I just came out of the sky. That was pretty cool. So I'm pretty sure I can do anything now.
Yeah, no, I'd encourage everyone to do it once. I think it must have been nearly 30 years ago when I did it. And same thing, there was like 6 of us going to do it. And then slowly but surely, they all started kind of disappearing and the fear kicked in. And we were like, I live in the south of Ireland in Cork, and we were doing it up the north, like an 8-hour drive. And one guy beforehand dropped out as well. So there was just 2 of us went up, done the 8-hour training. This was a solo jump we weren't attached to anybody. And after doing the training, he said, I'm not doing it. And I just said, yeah, I'm doing it. Because there was other people training as well that we didn't know. So I said, I'll do it. And I had a recorder at the time, a video recorder. So I gave it to him to record me. And the way it is, yeah, I remember when you said about looking out, it's a strange feeling, like you're flying along, you're going, I'm jumping out of this, but 2 things can go wrong. The parachute cannot open fully, or it can be twisted. And I had both. And I remember when I looked up, I went, it was like fear for a second. And then because they were really good at training us, I was able to do it. There was like one you toggle and the other you just kind of hold it like that. And then it was grand. And then it was something like 4.5 minutes that you're kind of just coming down. And the only thing is at the end, I was like, I pulled the cords fast, whereas they didn't tell us about that. And I kind of went towards the ground, but I was doing martial arts, so I just break rolled and it was grand. But I know some people trying to hurt themselves, and your body just fills with energy. Like, it's incredible. And the thing is, the guy that was recording me the whole way down, he never took off the cap. So I have no pictures, nothing for. I just have a certificate of that I did it, but it's in my head. But it's like, yeah, but I still encourage everyone to do it because it is a fantastic experience.
I got a pen and a certificate. And every once in a while, I'll use my pen, and I'm like, this is the most expensive pen I've ever bought. You know? Anyways, it's like skydiving. I'm like, oh, wow, this is the proof that I did it, is my pen.
Yeah, no. So prior to recording, you said, oh, the birds are chirping. Are they birds that you have yourself or just outside your house?
No, they're birds that I have myself. Well, they're actually my son's birds, and I moved my office around in our house into his room because I felt like, because he went on a mission for our church. And so the birds were alone and they were making terrible noises all by themselves. And I just was like, I'm not going to do that for them. So now I'm with the birds so that they can hear a voice every day.
Nice. So yeah, like you got into Montessori teacher. So you might take us through your journey. What made you get into that?
So I've done things early my whole life. I've been very ambitious, and I just came that way. I don't know why. I just did. I just was born and was like, these are the things I want to do. And I graduated school early. I was a competitive ballroom dancer. And while I was competitive ballroom dancing, my dance coach came out to me and two other girls at the time and said, there is a Montessori certification that is happening. And it doesn't usually happen in this part of the country. And it was about 4.5 hours away. And she goes, I think that you guys should take it. And I'm like, well, I really just want to have my own cooking show when I grow up. But I guess that if I take a Montessori certification, that could benefit if I ever become a mom. So I was 16. I was 16 at the time and just graduated school early. I was like, might as well. This is my next thing. And me and two other girls every Tuesday night would drive 4.5 hours, take 4 hours worth of class and drive back the same day. And we just did this for 1.5 years, I believe. And then when I was 17, I was ready to do my internship and stayed away from my family and do that. And I'm like, okay. And it just kind of evolved. And I found that I really loved it. And I'm a really good teacher. I'm like, this just is something really natural for me. Like, I love teaching. I love the light when people understand, and that feeling of just exuberant joy when you just get something, and to see that. And was really good at teaching children how to read and breaking things down and making them understand difficult concepts. And so it just kind of evolved, and I taught for a long time. And then I got an opportunity to be one of the founding members of a school, and the school is an inclusive school, whereas 20% of the population had special needs. And so we had to get some special needs trainings. And so I got certified in, Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, and everything else. And I created a curriculum, and it was called the emerging curriculum because it was meeting kids where they were developmentally and not chronologically. So it didn't matter how old they were, because what we were seeing in the school system is that the kids would not understand the concepts, but because they were a certain age, they were pigeonholed into this classroom regardless. And so we were having kids that were either really, really ahead and needing more material, or they're really behind. And so we were meeting them where they were developmentally. And it changed everything. And this curriculum I created was published in Montessori magazine. And then I started speaking at conferences about it. So I started speaking at international Montessori conferences about this curriculum and about meeting people where they're at and children. And it evolved to not just children, but to adults, because this was not just for children. I found out so many of us as adults feel like we are pigeonholed into like the idea of what people think that we need to be, and we're not quite ready and there yet. Anyways, and so I talked about like nurturing ourselves. And so everything just kind of evolved. Well, this Montessori journey has like just buoyed me through a lot of trauma, a lot of different, like 2 very abusive marriages. And after my second divorce, I moved back home to Idaho, which is tiny, tiny small town, like 1,000 people. And I think small towns are just like, I don't know if you've ever seen a Hallmark movie, but they're just the salt of the earth, just so fulfilling. And I was just really fulfilled to be home. And I had some people reach out to me because I was consulting with schools and I was training teachers and I was doing all the things. And I had a doctor reach out to me and say, if I give you a building, will you open up a school? We need one here and we need you to be the teacher. So I opened up a school. And I opened up a school. It grew and grew and grew. And then my son got sick. And I sold the school and transitioned to being home. Actually, the son that has the birds, he's the one that got sick. And so I transitioned from owning a school and running a school to being home and doing what was already evolving. It was already evolving to, there is more of a population that needs to know what I'm doing and how to help them. So I'm honestly, at this point, I'm just like an adult Montessori teacher.
Very good. And I had heard the story about your son. So it was like, it was fairly serious, and hence why you had to sell it. You kind of just let the listeners know what happened.
Yeah. So he was 15 and he was a cross-country runner. So he would run for the local school and just running was his life. And one day he got sick and he just came down with a fever for 3 days. And with that fever, all of a sudden, he was not able to walk. And it was scary. It was really scary. So we bring him to every doctor. Every test is coming back normal, every single test. But all the doctors can also see that he can't walk, like he physically cannot walk. So we ended up going down the path of just genetics. And it took a long time to diagnose. And he did get like better. And it ended up being very interesting. Whereas he would go to sleep, he would be able to walk, and then he'd have tremors and he'd have to use a cane. And then his tremors would turn into like his legs giving out. And then his legs giving out, we would have to carry him around. And it just was this roller coaster every morning. And it ended up being a lot of nutrition. And he was diagnosed with mitochondrial dysfunction disorder. And there was a variant in his DNA. And the fever that he had just kind of set things off. And he has to take a lot of nutrients now to be able to function, to be able to be okay. And it's really crazy. I mean, my husband, I do all the nutrients anyways. I'm hippie. I do all the plants. I do all the things. And I've always done nutrition. And having to go in such a deep nutritional journey with him, realizing that every single thing that he eats is going to affect his body, because everyone that is typically healthy has like a health buffer. So we have like this health buffer. So if we eat like a piece of cake and things that are not so good, we're just biting into it a little bit. And it's not going to make us sick and we're not going to notice things right away. But he has no health buffer. And so if he were to just eat anything that was not good, he would instantly react to it, instantly get inflamed, not be able to walk. And I have learned more lessons from that kid because he is the happiest, most optimistic kid in the entire world. He is amazing. And he would have friends come over and he would try, like he still to this day, he still does this roller coaster, but has more ups than downs. And still to this day, he still tries to run. He may only run like a half mile, but it still is his love. Because if he only has that much energy, that's what he does with it. It's such an interesting thing, but he taught me some really neat lessons. I remember one day when he was just really kind of down, and I went and sat by him and he said, "Mom, if you only had 4 hours a day, what would you do?" And I've thought about that a lot. I actually think about that quite frequently. It really helps me to not waste my time, because if I only have 4 hours a day that I can do the most important things, what are those things? And he told me, he goes, I think the most important things for me is spending time with each one of my family members and with God. Those are the most important things to me. And that's all he could do. And another thing that he told me that I thought was really impactful in my life is that he told me, he said, "I don't understand this whole cup half full thing." He goes, "I don't understand it." He said, "People say, cup half full, cup half empty." He goes, "People just need to be grateful that they have a cup." He goes, "I don't understand. People just need to just be grateful for what they have." And I'm like, yeah, he came this way. He did. He just had a different vision on life all the time. And he taught me so much during that really difficult time of trying to get diagnosed and trying to figure out his nutrients and trying to figure out how to make him work. And it has been a difficult journey, but now it is completely nutrient based. And I mean, I heard this before that, your food can be your medicine, and it truly can be. I didn't know that until I saw this and have experienced it and lived it and realized the importance of me growing my huge garden and preserving it, because the things that are in my garden are like gold, because I cannot get them at the store. I cannot get that type of nutrients that I can grow at the store. And this is why I will preserve things and can things and save things, because this is gold. Because I can see how it is beneficial for his soul and for his body, and for all of us. And our whole family's benefited, honestly, just because, now we have to eat healthy. Gosh, dang it.
Thing is, I think we've been conditioned between, TV programs and everything, in that they're showing all the cereal, everything is inverted, what they tell you, and most of it is toxic, unfortunately. But once you start eating healthier, you find you get way more done and you feel way better. And it's and plus cravings go as well. So, it's, what age is your son now?
He is 18. Yeah. 18 and a half.
And does he know what he wants to do now? Will he do college, or will he?
He wants to do college. We were surprised that he's not even living at home right now. This is big. He is now taking ownership of his nutrients and his diet, and that's why sometimes it's even worse right now. Just because now he has to become independent in this. But he decided, when he was just building that relationship with God so much, he's like, "I want to serve a mission. I do." And I'm like, okay. And so when he turned 18, he put in mission papers and he got approved. And so now he is in Texas for 2 years serving a mission. And it's amazing. And he calls me and we talk, and he's like, and I send him packages and I send him all of his pills and stuff, because I can't get them there. So they come here and I package everything and I send them down. And he was so cute, because on Tuesday he sent me this really cute picture, because it was the first package I had sent him that did not have pills in it. And he's like, this was the best box ever, Mom. And I sent him a little tiny Christmas tree, his Advent, and, all of the things that you need to start Christmas and celebrate, this month, and mini Christmas tree, little lights, all the things. And he sends me this picture and he's like, this was the best box ever. Thank you. I'm like, you're welcome. You need to also not always be like, oh, here's another box of pills for me, And they're all vitamins. It's all vitamins and nutrients. It's insane that this kid is never going to age. You talk about these people that have done biohacking, and my husband is really big into all of that stuff. And I know way more than I probably should. But literally, this kid is never going to age because it's all for his cells, because mitochondrial is your cell system. And so when you are giving nutrients directly to your cell system and feeding your body directly so that your cells have support and energy, that is literally what biohacking is. This kid is never going to age, I'm pretty sure.
Excellent. So just because with what you're doing now with kind of the coaching and kind of helping people from burnout and stuff, do you touch on nutrition? Because a lot of the time people, they just kind of look at the work environment or the family environment. And a lot of the time it actually starts from the nutrition, because then they're grumpy or they're just foggy and they're, struggling, taking 10 cups of coffee a day and things like that.
Mm-hmm. I kind of nurture it up to that. So my program has 5 different, I call them buckets. And the reason why I call them buckets is because there is a children's song that I would never teach while I was a Montessori teacher because it drove me insane. And this song goes, there's a hole in your bucket, dear Lila, dear Lila. You know that song? Well, they never fix the hole in the bucket. The entire song. There's still the hole. They stick.
Let's sign a petition and get it sorted.
Anyway, so when I was making my stuff, everyone's like, oh, you should call it pillars and things no. I'm calling it buckets because I'm tired of that song. It's more of a personal thing. I'm going to fix it. I want to fix the buckets. So, I call it the 5 buckets, but nutrition is the middle one. And the reason why is because I'm a Montessori educator. You have to nurture it up. If you just tell somebody that, okay, well, you need to eat healthy and these are the things you need to do, the percentage of people willing to do that is not going to happen. But if you teach them about your emotions, so you work with emotional self-care first, and you teach them how you're developed, how these emotions were developed, how you developed fear very first, and how we'll revert back to fear because it's one of our carnal survival emotions that we first experienced when we came out of our mother's womb. And you just teach them about why you have these, develop them. Then you do spiritual self-care, a power greater than yourself, gratitude, grounding. And then you go into physical self-care, which incorporates your environment, your nutrition, your eating, your movement, as well as your sleeping habits and your water intake. These are so crucial, and they are the center of all these 5 buckets. You have to prepare yourself to be able to handle it, because once you have nutrition in place and your movement that you love, it's crazy because your whole life changes, completely changes. And I'm a fitness instructor as well. I teach bungee fitness and ballroom dance still to this day. And it it changes everything. And it makes you really start questioning, am I feeling terrible because I ate that donut? Am I feeling terrible because I've had 5 cups of coffee? Why am I feeling like this? And you're able to start distinguishing that, because it's a really big factor in a lot of our lives, and we don't talk enough about it. My kids joke that I don't know, I guess the term that they use is crunchy. I don't know if you understand that term. They think I'm very crunchy in the terms that we don't have processed food. We have ingredients in my home. And they don't love that. They don't love that we have all the ingredients. And sometimes I'll tell them that you can't, I do have chocolate chips. I have chocolate chips. And I will tell them, and that's what they will want to be. I'm like, you cannot eat these. These are for something. Anyways, but it's been an interesting thing because they'll have friends come over and the friends won't, at first, they're always hesitant to eat dinner with us. And then they eat dinner and they're like, oh, wow, this is good. And now I have friends that come over and they're so excited whenever dinner time comes around. And yes, I cook breakfast, I make their lunches, and I cook dinner, like, because that is how important it is to me. It is so crucial that we are fueled in a way that is going to like support our souls, our spirits, our bodies in every way.
My youngest son, he'll be 12 at the end of this month, and like if he was into hot dogs or something like that, because sometimes there's other people that are putting this and then they get a taste for something. And what I do is I just sit down with him and I play the video showing how it's made. And same with chicken nuggets or even Pringles or things like that, because people can go through a bunch of Pringles, they think they're nice potatoes chopped up lovely, and it's not, it's just a combination of gunk. And when they see that, then they kind of go, ugh. And then they think about it. Also, I use an app. So we go shopping, we just scan something and it tells you. And I say they're warning labels. When you see all this processed stuff, it's a warning label. And, I go to the farmer, get as much as I can from the farmer. But obviously you go to the shop and sometimes you'll see this stuff as saying natural this. And it's not. It's all trickery. Everything is trickery. And that's the frustrating thing, because there's a lot of people, they're actually trying to, and they're being tricked by these big corporations that are making it look like this is natural, and then they're wondering what's wrong. Well, I'm eating healthy and I'm doing this, but it might be that they're eating healthy. Same with, obviously you'd understand, like minerals and vitamins and things like that, but there's even a high percentage of that as well, that's trickery.
Yeah.
I get stuff here that's really good. And even when I was talking to my folks, like my father passed 2 years ago, but before he was kind of big into that kind of thing. And sometimes the things that I was getting for quarter the price or a tenth of the price were nearly 10 times the amount, milligrams or mgs, whatever.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And sometimes people think I get zinc, and zinc is zinc.
And no, it's not. Yeah.
And it must be frustrating when you see the trickery, and like when somebody really says, all right, I'm going to make a change. And because of external circumstances that aren't, beneficial to them, they don't see the change. But if they had the right advice and kind of guided in the right direction, everything would change for them.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, especially if you're kind of forced into it, I've always done healthy and everything else, but, we would sometimes do, a pizza or whatever, right? But now everything is different in the fact that you realize that everything that you put in your mouth is going to affect how you feel in your future. Like, if you were to take the perspective that if you put this in your mouth, are you going to be able to function tomorrow? Like, you have to kind of reframe things. And there's so many things, so I keep dates on hand. So many people struggle with that sugar craving, because that is a difficult one. And I still I will admit, I still eat chocolate, but it has to be good Swiss chocolate because I'm Swiss. And I call that my vitamin C. I only have it sometimes. Anyways, but I will often have dates, and dates are so great because they don't spike your glucose levels very high. They keep you level, and they help you with that sugar craving. They're perfect. If you're trying to break a sugar craving, those are the best things that you could incorporate into your diet, or just keep on the counter. And just, I need a quick snack and I really want to grab a candy or something and have a date. It will change. It's just the little tiny things that you can do that are going to change, your future. And I think that that's what we forget, that these little tiny movements that we make can completely change the path that we're on now.
Yeah, it's definitely a compound effect. You see, if people ate a McDonald's and they felt terrible And then they'd never do it again. But unfortunately, they don't realize the damage it's doing, and they just kind of, I mean, just trace everything. But when you mentioned the chocolate, like if you gave me a cheap bar of chocolate, you'd eat the whole lot. You but with high cocoa, 80%, 90%, it's kind of bitter. But at the same time, you still get the chocolate from it.
Yes.
You'll never eat a full bar of that.
No, you have like a piece.
Exactly.
And
As I didn't feel
enough.
I'm done now. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and because things are so processed, it's kind of like I've used this term before where one of the reasons why our food is just not as good is because, I live in farm country. What is happening is that the nutrients in our soil has been depleted quite a bit. So we're still growing produce. We're still growing carrots and potatoes and all these wonderful vegetables, but the nutrients within them is so much less than it was 20 years ago. So even though it's fresh and comes out of the ground, the vitamins that were within that are not nearly what they were 20 years ago because our soil is becoming so depleted of nutrients. And I kind of think of that as like our people as well. You think about, I've been in teaching for 23 years, and the kids that I saw 23 years ago were not the same kids that I saw when I was teaching, but recently. Not just our nutrients are becoming depleted, our people are becoming depleted with the skill set, with their emotional intelligence, with just the readiness to become independent people. Like, there's so many young adults. Now I have 4 young adult boys, and I'm grateful that, I've been able to raise them, but there are some times that they question, am I adulting? Like that's a thing. And I'm like, yeah, you're big enough to make these big boy choices now. But you hesitate because there's a lot of fear put in place because they don't have the experience behind it like we used to.
I remember reading a book, Dr. Wrench. It must be 90 years that it was written, and it was like studying the people in the Himalayas, and it was all about food, why they were living to over 100, but it was crop rotation, which we don't do, and we're depleting the minerals. And I know we've covered it in a few of the shows in the Awakening. It was like even spinach, it's like 5% of what it was previously. So someone eating a bowl of spinach, they're kind of going, hey, I'm doing the right thing. And unless it's done properly, you're not getting the minerals. Yeah. So.
No, this is why everyone has to take a multivitamin. Like, I don't care who you are. If you're not taking a multivitamin and you eat a perfect diet, you still are probably deficient in something, because we have to have that much extra nutrients just to be able to feel good.
You mentioned, was it bungee fitness that you said?
Yes.
That's a new one for me. I've never heard. I've heard of bungee jumping, but not bungee fitness.
Oh, bungee fitness. That's fun. It's when, so you have a bungee that hangs from the ceiling, and you put on, it's almost like a backwards rock climbing harness. So the loop, instead of in the front, is on the back, and you just kind of hook yourself up to the ceiling. Well, I hook everybody up to the ceiling. Anyways, and then you have this resistance. So it's like a constant resistance that you have. So every time you're doing a push-up, you have I feel like I can do a million push-ups when I have something helping me up and down, right? But it helps you with your strength. But then you can you can run, and you can jump, and you can fly. You can do so many deeper squats. You can, it's great because you get to work the muscles that you don't normally work because you get fatigued too quickly, or it hurts to squat more than a 90 degrees. But when you're on a bungee, you're like, oh, wow, I can do this forever, And so you got to work out these extra muscles with the less resistance on your knees. And so I love it. It's so fun.
And is it typically like an hour session or half hour?
Mm-hmm. It's an hour.
Oh.
And it's like choreographed to music, and it's just fun. It's just fun. I think that there are times where I think people misjudge and they think it's going to be an easy workout because you have this spongy, attached to you. And there will be many times where I will have a full class and I'll look over in the mirror and everyone is dying watching me exercise. And I'm like, why am I the only one exercising here? And they're just like, oh, I'm like, okay. All right, I will bring it down. I'm sorry. We got to bring it down, Bethany. Calm down. So yeah, that happens.
But I think for those that mightn't have done class training as well, it's a nice environment because, say you are planking, because I done a lot of classes at one stage because there's a gym near me that I'm joining, and like you push yourself, because if you're just kind of doing it on your own or whatever, you kind of just kind of give. But if there's a whole room, 30 people. Mm-hmm. And I'd say it must be the same with that, like, because you don't want to be the first one to just go, I'm stopping, or whether you're doing the push-ups or squats. And I think you benefit a lot more when there's a group there.
Yeah, and there's a mirror. Everyone can see you. It's like, do you want to stop? Just keep going. Just push through it.
So you've a podcast as well, so you might let us know. What's it called, and what are you talking about?
My podcast is called Thriving by Nature, which is the same as my business. It's called Thriving by Nature. And I talk about life skills. That's really what I talk about. I talk about patience and persistence. I talk about how sometimes we have to cut off toxic relationships so that we can grow. I talk about importance of journaling. I talk about, all the things. And then I don't have guests. It's just me. They're really short. They're like under 20 minutes, every one of them. And it's just about a life skill to just make you think about it and help to enhance your life. One of them is even about meditation. Like, they're just all about how to incorporate these small little things into your life.
And what I saw as well is what you're doing is, I don't know what, something about the sauna. It's like, but it's very good. It's a very good idea because unfortunately the society we're in today, it's like they're picking up the phone and they're just, and you're, obviously there's a percentage of people who will watch an hour, 2 hour or whatever, but most people are just looking for the dopamine hit, and you're given very good knowledge in, I don't know, sometimes like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, but I think that will touch the person that needs to hear it. And how did that come about?
Well, so I had, I have a marketer, and she's like, you need to make your presence more, because I am not a super loud person. I just am not. I don't love being in front of people, and I'm not like, look at me. I just am not that person. And she's like, you have to make, your presence more, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, this is so out of my comfort zone. And I'm like, and I time block everything. I'm like, the only time we have a time to like do anything is literally when I'm in the sauna. Because every day I'll take 20 minutes and I go and I sit in the sauna. And it's a time where I like meditate and I just like have a minute. And so she's like, well, do it when you're in the sauna. And I'm like, okay. I'm like a hot take. And she's like, that's a great name. I'm like, okay. So I named them Hot Takes, Mindset in the Sauna. And here's the best part about those. I only have 3 minutes to get something recorded, and it's one take, because it's so hot in there that it is like, and I am sweaty and gross. I have no makeup on. My hair is in a ponytail. I am gross. I'm like, this is it. Like, this is the time I have. So this is what I'm doing. And I just give a little tiny thing. And most of the time it's either like things that I've been talking with my clients about, things that are happening in my family. Like, I have kids that are in their young 20s, and I have clients that are in their 80s. And there's some things that just cross all ages. And I'm like, wow, that would make a really good hot take. So I just write things down, or when I'm exercising, I just come up with an idea, think of it. And then I go and I sit in the sun. I'm like, one take. Here we go. Done.
And it has to be one take because the phone overheats, really, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It'll overheat. Like, and that's it. And I'm like, and that's what I post. And that's what I do. And it's like, sometimes they're great and sometimes like, I never rewatch that one again. Actually, I probably don't rewatch any of them. Just like, okay, let's see what happens. But at least and I am. I want people, because we do. Sometimes we just, my kids call it doom scrolling. Sometimes you doom scroll, right? And if we're going to doom scroll, I'd rather fill a feed with something that is going to be beneficial, because that's how I try to use my phone. Is I try to, like, if I'm going to do things, I'm going to be purposeful. I call it purposeful phone use. And if we can fill our phones with more purposeful phone use and see things and fill our feeds with content that fill us and teach us, then that's going to be more beneficial than all this negativity that's in the world.
Absolutely. Excellent. So another one of the things that you help people with is burnout. And I mean, I think most people, we've all experienced burnout at some stage. We just kind of chug through life and then it kind of hits us. I suppose if we touch on it, how does someone identify it? Because sometimes they don't really know. It's someone else has kind of seen it happen. What's the kind of warning signs and then how can you help somebody or how they help themselves?
A lot of the signs of burnout is, well, almost the signs of depression, which is kind of sad. You kind of start letting go of things. So let's say that for a long time you were going to the gym, and then all of a sudden you got really busy and you just kind of dropped going to the gym, or you start justifying not going to the gym, or you know what? I'm just too busy. I will just go pick up a hamburger. I'm just like, you start dropping habits that you knew benefited you. And that is one of the very first signs that you are headed towards burnout, is because you are dropping things that you know are going to help you. And then you want to close off towards people. And it's funny because we go through this justification process of, no, I'm fine. I just need to do self-care. So I'm just going to binge watch on Netflix all day just so I can have a down day to recharge my battery. These are things we tell ourselves, but that is not the truth. We're lying to ourselves. We are burned out. We are emotionally drained. Our situations are too heavy and we're really feeling the weight of the world. And we feel like we want to just be by ourselves. We want to simplify life. We just want everything to go away. And we think that if we can just hide, things will get better. But that is not true. And how you fix that is, first you have to recognize it. The very first thing is you have to recognize that you are really there. And a lot of times we have justified so hard that we are not there, that it takes the emotional awareness. So many people are emotionally intelligent. Like, most people are emotionally intelligent, but a very small population is emotionally aware. And it's the emotional awareness that you have to step back and be like, okay, I need to reevaluate. And this is how you take the first steps to get out of burnout, is you take a step back, you get out a piece of paper and you get out a pen and you decide, what are your non-negotiables for your life? What are the things that you have to do no matter what? And you write those down. And then, even if it's just one thing, like my non-negotiable is I need to be in bed by 10 p.m., right? And just work towards that, because you're going to now shape everything towards something that's going to benefit you. And you know that if you go to bed before 10 p.m., you're going to wake up and you're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. Okay, let's add another non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable that I'm going to add is that, I know I need to drink. I'm going to add this as a non-negotiable. I'm going to drink 8 cups of water a day. Okay, this is now non-negotiable. And building your life towards these things that you know are going to build you, even though, you're probably going to still do Netflix binging or whatever it is. but you're changing your habits very slowly. And you're creating more awareness towards how you're feeling. It's a really difficult thing. And people don't understand that you don't just jump out of burnout. You have to build, because burnout is, I feel like everyone has a foundation and we kind of build upon it. When you have burned out, you have gone through your foundation. You have burned down to the ground. You are now digging a hole and you're digging a basement. And that's not great, because how deep is your basement going to go? And we don't realize that we have literally just burned all the way down and we're digging now a basement. We are past the foundation, digging a basement, and all we have to do is literally turn around and there's a ladder. We don't need to keep digging. We need to turn around and we need to start climbing up that ladder and look at our foundation and repair it. And that is why it's not a quick fix. And once you fix that foundation, you build awareness and you build protections to never go past that foundation again. This is my foundation. These are my non-negotiables. Now what do I do from here? How do I continue to build my home, build my life, build the things I want to build in my life, keeping on this firm foundation? And that's what I do, is I teach people how to do that.
And if people are in a relationship and one side goes through that's kind of maybe getting the coaching, do you get the other person involved? Because sometimes sometimes it can be caused by the other person, but other times they're just not aware and they want to be supportive. Yes. So sometimes you think,
yes. And it's very actually common, especially once we get to social self-care. And the reason why is because that is your relationships. That is your relationships. And after you have concentrated on you, that's why, so it's, as we're building this, you have your emotional, your spiritual, your physical, you are now stronger. You are starting to build your foundation. Now we can deal with your social self-care. And your social self-care is going to now attack your emotions, but you've built that. It's going to now question your diet, because now we have emotional eating and all this other things that tag along with that. And you're able to now, I help give tools to be able to separate story from fact, because a lot of the times we are living in stories that we create, especially when it comes to relationships, and we feed our stories. And we keep making our stories evolve, and we bring people into our stories to validate our stories. And it's when we stop living in that story that we can actually see whether this is a toxic situation, whether this is a healthy situation, what needs to happen. And both parties involved need to stop living in a story. And that's usually when I'll bring in the other person.
Even on the self-care, even with people with what I find fascinating is, as we get older, we kind of condition ourselves to a story that we believe is true. And if, say, you have 4 people in a room, they all have different versions, and that's fascinating. And they're all 100% convinced that they're right in their beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our perception is so strong. What we perceive to be true is so strong. But then when we take away that story and we step back and be like, okay, so what are the facts? There's so many times where when we step back, if we feel so wronged by somebody, a lot of people will feel wronged by their parents, by how they were raised, by, resentment that has happened because, I feel like all of my relationship problems are because my mom didn't love me. So now I don't know how to love other people. Like, you hear these things and it's this blame being pushed off. But then when you take away the story and you realize that, well, did her mother love her? Did she do the best that she could? Well, yeah. And I'm like, then why are you blaming her? Let's take away the story. She did the best that she could. She didn't know any better. Don't create a story. Now you take responsibility for your actions and you choose. And it's that realization that we have the choice. We don't need to create a story. We need to step back. We need to look at the facts, and then we need to create, a reality.
And I think it's strange that most of the information from past generations was never kept and passed on. Because even as you say that, if you look at somebody and you go, oh, say the father wasn't that close with the kids or whatever. But then if you look back and you say, oh, but his dad was an alcoholic and he was 10 times better than his dad, and who knows what was before that.
Exactly.
But it's strange we never kind of keep it. But where I think, because there's so many levels of trauma and a lot of it comes from youth, I think with your Montessori kind of training and experience and things that you've developed, us as adults, I mean, I can see so many people and I can say, they're still a kid. Yeah, they might be running multi-million-pound jobs doing brilliant deals, but I can see the child inside them. And I think with your experience, you'll be able to take off the layers and kind of find the true person to kind of be themselves, I suppose, and grow up.
Yeah, well, and there's something that's called childhood emotional neglect. And a lot of people are dealing with that because the most sensitive times of your development is between the ages of 1 and 7 years old. Those are the most critical times of development. That is the time where so many core memories, values, and who you are formed. And if things happen, I'm pretty sure that I was not the perfect parent when my children were in those years. I know they were going through trauma. I was going through trauma. I was going through divorces and abusive marriages. And guess what? These are the most crucial times of my children's life. You think that they're not going to have issues? They do. And now that they're adults, they'll talk to me. And my 21-year-old, he actually, one of the things that he was so upset with me about, and he would argue with me about, is, Mom, you moved us so many times when we were little. We had to move so many times. I'm like, yeah, we did. And I'm really sorry about that. And he resented that for a long time in his youth, in his teenage years and everything. And now he's becoming a young man. And he's like, I cannot believe how good of a job you did. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you know how you kept moving us? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I didn't know that you weren't getting any child support. I didn't know that you were working 5 jobs. I didn't know. He didn't know these things. And as he gets older and he's now responsible for his money in his own apartment and things like that, he's like, you did such a good job. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Because we live in our stories. And that was the story he told himself for a long time. And is that, we had to move and he kept losing his friends and all these things. But then when he was able to actually take away the story and realize that, yeah, I did the best I could. I wasn't trying to create trauma. There's situations that happen that this is the way it is.
And I think as parents as well, we want to have the best for our kids and support them. So you don't want to be putting that on them, saying, hey, this is why you're doing it. You don't want them to be even thinking about that. So you can be going through a load of stuff and they're just kind of going along. And sometimes, yeah, it's as they become young adults, they find out the truth. And I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, we do the best we can. We're dealt different cards. We get into relationships that don't work. And it's there's a curveball every day. I think as soon as you think something's going great, life is next to you just gets slapped. And you think, no, I'm right on the right road now. And I can see the, Route 88, say, in the USA. And before you know that the road is closed and you have to go somewhere else. And we just have to deal with it. And I think the more we deal with our emotions and kind of be in touch with ourselves, then we're able to react to these things instead of us totally throwing us off. And that's just a learning curve. And I think, when people are working with, say, yourself, just kind of, some people aren't aware of the different things, emotions and stuff like that, or even taking care of themselves. People don't even, a lot of people, they don't take care of themselves and then they get ill or they're just resentful. And then they become a horrible person to be around, even though they're trying their best for the family and things like that. So I think we all need support, and not be ashamed to put up our hand.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like we are living in such a society where we want to hide. We want to hide the truths. We want to just push them under the rug a little bit and just not look at them.
The rug is full.
Because I know. Well, that's the thing. It starts becoming so lumpy. You can't even walk on that thing. You got to deal with it. And it's hard. And we don't grow unless we go through hard things, though. Like if we are trapped and we just keep hitting our head against that brick wall, maybe it's because you got to look under that rug. It's a thing, and it's difficult to deal with. And right now there's this huge movement of this 1% better. Everyone needs to be 1% better. And there's so many people that are trying to be 1% better, but they don't know how. They don't know how to do that. They don't know how to get that going. And that was actually one of the reasons why I made this whole entire curriculum, is because at the end, when you go through intellectual self-care, which is the last one, about the drive to continue to learn and how to grow and how to keep nurturing yourself, you end up with what is called a better me list. And it's your exact map on how you can be that 1% better. If you do all of these things every day, you're going to be better than the person you were yesterday. You always get to challenge that version of yesterday. And if you don't get everything done, that's okay, because you get tomorrow. And you at least have that idea and that roadmap to be able to get you there, which is something that I think is unique in the fact that people they need the direction and they need the education behind it. They need the why. They need to have somebody to lead them. And I feel like that's something that we're lacking in our society, is enough leaders to help buoy this up. I call them guides. We need more guides.
Absolutely. Listen, Bethany, thoroughly enjoyed it, and you might let the listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah. You can find me at my website, thrivingbynature.com, or even if you type in bethanystone.com, it will also lead you to my website. And everything is on there. I have a free journal to download. It's a really beautiful PDF journal that you can print out.
And it is beautiful, because I've actually downloaded it and I was shocked. I was like, wow, you're giving this away free. It's fantastic. I encourage everybody to download that journal. It is beautiful.
Thank you. Because I feel like I'm not a gatekeeper. I want to help and support. And if you can just learn something small, if you can just learn something that's going to fill your bucket and not let it leak out, then you're going to be able to grow. And so, yeah, on my website is everything. You can find me on YouTube, and my podcast is Thriving by Nature, and my YouTube is Thriving by Nature with Bethany Stone, and you can see all my hot takes there and all of my podcasts there as well.
No, excellent. I'll make sure I put the links both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just for the listeners, I mentioned that we're in a professional business group together, and I listen to Bethany weekly, sometimes giving advice, and that's how I knew I had to have her on the show, because she's full of wisdom. Listen to her sauna talks. They're brilliant, and her podcast. So you find everything about me, scan the QR code, go to ridecall.com. You find everything I do, all the school groups and everything. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends. And when you check out Bethany's podcast, please do the same. Really helps. Until next week, take care.